You better ride. I said now people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Faith is the key that'll carry you over. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord and then you ride. I said now people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just get on board. I said now faith is the key that'll take you over. You don't need no ticket, you just get on board and then you ride. Oh, you ride. You better ride. Come on and ride.
Hello, everyone. Hello. How you
Hello,
doing this evening, Tammy?
doing good,
Good,
doing good.
good.
We got a lot to share tonight. We're gonna turn the corner and go back over something that we went over. I think it was January, and that we thought that would be real important for the community. And I actually, to be honest with you, Robin, I think that we ought to do this several times a year um, because I think that it's really important information that we're sharing. And I think every time you hear it, you can hear more, you can ask more questions, things like that. So we're going to be talking about today about entrepreneurs, about having our own businesses, about the professions that we really don't want to lose in the community that's valuable to us, careers and professions that's very important in because you and I have talked about this before that we don't believe everybody should
Mhm.
own a business,
Right,
and
right.
everybody is not a owner, a business owner, and everybody's not an entrepreneur, and there is a difference between the two. And then also, we have some careers like lawyers, doctors, teachers, counselors, mental health professionals. These are professions that we think that we believe are very important for us to have people that look like us in
Right.
those fields. And we definitely want to continue to encourage the young person or an older person that want to do a career change. And if it's in a field that we really feel like is, well, whatever they want to do is their choice, and we support any time a person is going into it, making career changes for the better. However, there are some careers that are professions that are very important to the underserved communities, to low income communities, to people of color. And so we definitely don't want to have a shortage of those as well. And people can have their own private practice so you can whistle while you work, you know?
Mhm. Right. 'Cause- Right. And like we stated before in the previous podcast, we definitely want to go into businesses, and when you go to the doctor and a psychiatrist or whoever, you want to sometimes see someone that looks like you, so you have that familiarity, or you just feel more comfortable with someone that looks like you. So we do encourage, not everyone, like you said, is made to be an entrepreneur or business owner.
Right. And then you got people that they enjoy what they do, but they want a side gig, or they want to
Right.
make money and have multiple funding streams. So I think this podcast is really good for that as well. Um, and today we're going to be talking about actually details to what do you do when you are seeking grant funding? What do you do when you're seeking a small business loan? And uh, I looked at these again and I thought, this is really good information because we have the forms up and everything that someone would need. I'd like to go on and get started in it because it's three of them. And I definitely encouraging anyone that's on here to make comments, ask your questions. We'll try to get them answered for you today. Um, this is a subject that we're pretty familiar with. So feel comfortable asking questions. Last time I did this one, I actually had 3 or 4 people to reach out, and we helped one of them start the process for a loan, and the other one, he opened a restaurant in the Redbird area, and it's a Italian restaurant at Redbird Mall, and if anybody's in that area, you can go check him out. But him and his partners were looking at a small business loan. So, and the information that they got off of this helped them. So I'm hoping that we'll help someone again. You okay with Robin?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Voices podcast. Today we're talking about something that can truly change lives: how to build careers and start businesses in our community. Whether you're dreaming of being your own boss or growing in a professional career, we've got you covered. Let's start by clearing up a big question. What's the difference between entrepreneurship and owning your own business? And why are both so important, especially for people of color? Entrepreneurship is about creating something new, solving problems, taking risks, and finding opportunities. It's starting from scratch, whether it's a tech company, a restaurant, or a small shop. Owning a business might mean running something already established, like a franchise. Both paths are valid and impactful. We don't just need more businesses, we also need representation in leadership careers. Think about it. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, judges, these are roles that shape lives and decisions. When we see people who look like us in these positions, it builds trust and inspires the next generation. We need balance. Entrepreneurs create opportunities and jobs. Professionals lead and make decisions in spaces where we've been left out. Together, they make our community stronger. Now let's talk about how to fund these dreams. There are grants for nonprofits and SBA loans for profits. Here's how they work. Grants for nonprofits are like free money. You don't have to pay back, but getting them takes work. You usually need to be a 501c3 nonprofit to qualify. Grants come from places like the government, private foundations, or big companies. But remember, grants are competitive. To apply, you need a solid plan for how you'll use the money. Although not exclusively, small business administration loans are available for entrepreneurs of for-profit businesses. These are loans backed by the government, so they're easier to qualify for than regular bank loans. They're great for starting or growing a business. To get one, you'll need a good business plan, decent credit, and sometimes collateral. Let's review a few of the SBA loan programs that may be beneficial to you. SBA 7A loan program is the most popular SBA loan program designed for a wide range of business needs, including working capital, equipment purchase, or real estate acquisition. The maximum loan amount for SBA 7 loan is $5 million. SBA 504 loan program specifically for purchasing fixed assets like real estate and equipment or renovating existing facilities. It's ideal for expanding businesses. The maximum loan amount for SBA 504 loan is $5.5 million. SBA microloan program provides smaller loans up to $50,000 for startups or small businesses needing working capital, inventory, or supplies. These loans are delivered through nonprofit organizations that act as lending partners. SBA Express Loan offers faster approval, sometimes within 36 hours, for small business loans up to $500,000. Ideal for businesses needing quick access to funds. SBA Community Advantage Loans focused on underserved communities. This program provides loans of up to $350,000 to businesses in areas that typically have difficulty accessing capital. While securing funding is essential for starting or growing your business, it's just as important to plan for potential challenges. That's where risk assessment comes in. It helps you identify and prepare for obstacles before they become problems. Whether you're starting a business or running a nonprofit, one thing is certain: there will be risks. A risk assessment helps you identify potential challenges before they become problems. A risk assessment is a living document intended to evolve as potential risks occur. Here's how to create one. Identify risks. What could go wrong? Think about finances, operations, and compliance. For nonprofits, this means missing a grant reporting deadline. For businesses, it could be losing a key customer. Evaluate the impact and how serious would it be if this risk happened. What steps can you take to reduce these risks? For example, having a backup funding plan or ensuring your organization complies with laws. Risks change as you grow. Update your risk assessment often to stay prepared. Taking the time to plan for risks can save you time, money, and stress later. Identifying risks is a key step in protecting your business or nonprofit, but some risks come from outside forces like scams or misleading opportunities. Knowing how to spot and avoid these pitfalls is essential to staying on track and setting realistic goals. This is particularly important when dealing with grants. Don't put the cart before the horse. Before you start applying for a grant, it's essential to identify the specific grant you're interested in, because every grant comes with its own unique set of requirements and expectations. Avoid wasting your time writing blanket applications that don't align with the grant's specific goals. Instead, focus on tailoring your application to meet the criteria of the grant you're pursuing. Now let's move on to securing a grant writer. If you're thinking about hiring someone to help you with grants, be careful. A real grant writer will never promise you'll get the money. They can't guarantee that. They also won't work for free or take a cut of the grant. Instead, always get a contract that spells out what they'll do and when they'll deliver. And remember, grants take time and effort and not quick fixes. Fake grants and ads that promise quick money are common traps. These scams often guarantee fast payouts or exclusive opportunities, but usually come with hidden fees or unrealistic demands. It's crucial to recognize these red flags. It's important to remember that legitimate grants never require you to pay an application fee. However, you may need to cover startup costs. Always verify the legitimacy of a grant opportunity to avoid falling for scams. To help you navigate, I've put together a list of trusted websites where you can find real opportunities. Grants.gov is a centralized platform for federal grant opportunities, ideal for nonprofits, businesses, and organizations seeking government funding. Foundation Directory Online at candid.org is a comprehensive database of private foundations and corporate giving programs, great for researching potential funders. GrantWatch.com is a subscription-based site that lists grant opportunities for nonprofits, small businesses, and other organizations. The Chronicle of Philanthropy is a resource for nonprofit professionals that includes news, insights, and some grant opportunities. Many companies like Walmart, Google, and Microsoft have grant programs for nonprofits. Check their websites for specific details. Here are a few well-known foundations that provide strong support for nonprofits. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation focuses on global health, poverty, alleviation, and education. Known for supporting large-scale issues, this foundation offers grants worldwide to organizations aligned with its goals. The four foundation's focus areas are social justice, reducing inequality, and human rights. They provide grants to nonprofits working to advance equity and inclusion in underserved communities. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's focus areas are public health, health equity, and community well-being. The Credge Foundation focus areas are community development, education, and the environment. This foundation is known for funding programs that strengthen local communities. Understanding how to fund your goals, whether through grants, loans, or other options, is just the start. It's about building something real that helps not just you, but the entire community. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Hidden Voices podcast. Next time, we'll talk about marketing.
Okay,
They
Robin.
had
I
a
don't know
lot of
why.
good
Yeah, I don't know
points
what.
there.
It really did. And so let's just go over a couple of them. I don't know why I'm trying to get you and I larger on the screen, but I'm not having any luck with that. Okay. Did I take that off? I thought I did. Okay, there we go. Okay, so a couple of things I wanted to kind of touch base on this. We listed quite a few uh, SBA loans as well as websites for grants. So let's talk about like grant.gov. That's a really good one. And if you go on that website, they're going to list grants, but not just the grants. They're going to list who's sponsoring the grant, but also it's going to tell you what the criteria is. So that if you do, and they're going to tell you the deadlines. They're going to say, and we need. They'll say what forms you need to fill out, what they need in a packet that you're going to submit, and they'll give you a deadline. And also, they will tell you where to send the grant. Send that information and the deadline to get that information to them. So in a lot of grants, some of the things, just so if you were to hire a grant writer, that you're not, going to be in the dark, things that they're typically going to write for you, just more often than not. Program description, budgets, position descriptions. Your if you have a nonprofit, you're going to need a board of directors. So they're going to write like bylaws, different clauses like conflict of interest clause, all those things they're going to help assist you with, and because those are the things that a lot of times grants are going to want to see. They're going to want to see that you uh, put some thought into your cost. And one of the biggest things, and this really counts regardless if you're even if you're doing a small business loan, this really counts, and that's your risk assessment. That's probably one of the other than a conflict of interest clause, that risk assessment is huge. What you have to look at is what could go wrong, and if it did go wrong, what I would do to address it. So so that's really taking a critical look at whatever business you want to start, and what are some of the barriers that you might face, what are some of the unforeseen things that could possibly happen, and then how you would what you would put in place to address those types of things and how you would deal with it. That by having something like that, as well as a clear thought out plan and a clear thought out mission statement and program description, by having those things, that at least you are presenting as a legitimate entity that should be considered serious, that they should consider seriously.
Okay. Some of the things that stood out to me when you're looking to get a SBA loan, you need to focus on your clear communication. Not only do you need to understand it for yourself, but make it presentable so the person that's receiving it can understand it as well. So you don't have to be worried about fetching or looking for big words. Just make it clear and concise. You make sure you do your thorough research, go through the requirements, look at the I think one of the major things that you really need to look at is the date and what they are looking for. So write those things down to the side so you'll know if you're eligible for that loan or that grant. Be meticulous on planning, making sure that you have it go through a timely, concise time of writing everything down, having everything done on time so that you can submit it on time. And then just understanding your audience, who you're sending it to, what their precise requirements are. And a lot of times what they do also require you to have is a business proposal. Like Tammy said, they want to see your profit and loss. And if you do come into a problem, how will you solve it? Do you have backup funds, or do you have a backup plan if something does go wrong, to where, like, if you have a truck, a food truck, if that truck breaks down, how many days do you anticipate that you can be down and not lose a lot of money? So you have to have those things written out, because a lot of times those are the things that they want to know. They want to know if you have a plan, and if that plan goes wrong, what is your next plan? What is your backup plan? So,
And this is not to discourage anyone. It's for us to walk with our eyes open. It's very competitive when you're talking about grants. Grants are very competitive. Uh, and everybody's not a writer. That's just the way it is. I can't sing. Never will be able to sing long as I live. That's not something I can do. Well, everybody's not a writer either. Uh, but what you have to do is have a clear and concise idea about what your business is. You can't ask another person to write something that you haven't even thought about and really outlined what it is that you want to do. I often hear people say, well, I want to open a transitional house, or I want to do this for the community. And if I ask one question after that, they don't have that answer. Well, how many people do you want to hire? Well, where is it going to be located? Are you going to rent a house, or are you going to buy a house, or are you going to, you know, what about uh, what's the city standards, like inspection wise, like fire drills? Do you need water? You have to think about all these things and be able to articulate that to someone so that
mhm,
they can write a grant. Now, this grant writing thing is amusing to me often. No one, no one can write a grant and guarantee you're going to get anything. You may
mhm,
pay for that service. And that's why it's not a good idea for you to make deals and people say, well, I'll get a percentage of your grant in this. They do that service. I would never do that, because if you don't get the grant, I don't get any money. I would never make a deal like that. You may pay for the service and you just may not get the grant. And
mhm,
that's just the way it is. However, once you have that packet or whatever, you can always edit and maneuver it for future grants, and you may not even need as much service from someone.
mhm,
So it's still an investment. A real grant writer is not going to tell you that I'm going to spend all this time writing your grant, writing the information for you to submit an application for a grant, and then you just pay me if you get it, because they know that it's very competitive, and nobody's going to do that work for free.
right,
And
right,
I wouldn't trust that anyway. I wouldn't even trust their skills if they were willing to do it like that.
right,
And then be careful about the scams. And a grant is nothing more than an application that with attachments. It's an
mhm,
application with attachments. And so when often, you'll hear people say, well, write me a grant. Well, where's the application? Where's the outline of what grant you want written? Because usually, more often than not, it's an application with with several documents attached to it. I don't want to say a lot, but several.
mhm. And something that you also have to be mindful of, if even if you do hire a grant writer, you can't, it's not like you can just hire somebody and then forget about it and go on and not think about it. You still have to dedicate time to that grant writer, because this is your grant, so you have to answer questions that they probably won't know, because this is your idea. So you have to dedicate time to give them the resources, or the your vision of what you're wanting to achieve. So just be mindful that you have to put time in also.
So my people, my people, my people, you cannot get a grant writer and think they're going to work for you forever and you're going to go round and round and round and round. You need to be concise. You need to know what it is that you're trying to start. They and you need Once they write it, you review it and everything. But this is not an endless process. Do not negotiate. Do not say things like, well, I said I'd give you X amount, but if you're going to take that out, then it's going to be this amount. No, that's not the way that professional grant writers is going to work. It said it was a certain amount. They produced the documents. This is not a long-term relationship. This is relatively short-term. Once the grant is submitted, then that's pretty much it. And it cannot go on and on. Some grant writers, which I do not blame them, they will ask for a deposit before they even get started. And then there should be a contract when you use a grant writer. That way, everybody has to be on their best behavior. The grant writers, well as us, so that everybody is covered. This is not a casual relationship. You connect the dots. What put cross all your T's and dot all your I's. This is not a, even if it's just cousin's best friend that's a grant writer, get that out of your mind. And this is a professional that I'm hiring to do something.
And depending on the grant writer, the way it's usually set up, they're doing for one grant. It's not several grants. It's not 2 or 3. They're gonna do it. You're gonna pay for one grant unless you go into a contract to go to another one. But usually it's going to be for just one, writing for one grant, and then you make another contract for them to do another. Like Tammy said, this is not an ongoing relationship. They write it for one grant, give you information, and then they're done. So this is not a long-term thing.
So the video that we showed you just then was the actual resources that you would use, that you could use to either access small business loans or grants. Small business loans are a lot the same as grants. A lot for small business loans, if you don't have a business plan, that would be where I'd start. I would definitely be developing a business plan. Like I said, everybody's not a writer. So if you're going to hire someone to do that, you have to use the same professionalism and criteria. They're not going to work on your business plan for the next year. You're going to need to know what you need, what your business is all about, and they're going to be asking you questions. You're going to need to have some type of budget proposal for your business, and how certain things are going to be spent, your expenditures as opposed to your revenue. And most of these entities, if people give you money, more often than not, if it's not taxes and 501c3s, they're going to monitor to make sure that is what that's being used for. And funding can definitely get cut. And so now that was an overview and just showing you the resources. Now we're going to show you how to actually write a 501c3, which is the application that you need in order to become a nonprofit.
To a topic that's the backbone of nonprofit work, the 501c3. If you've ever wondered how nonprofits get grants, build trust with donors, or even operate tax-free, it all comes back to having this crucial designation. This episode will cover what is a 501c3, how do you set one up, and the importance of bylaws, conflict of interest policies, and ethical operations. By the end of this episode, you'll clearly understand how to lay the foundation for a strong and sustainable nonprofit. A 501c3 is a tax-exempt status granted by the IRS to organizations that operate for charitable, educational, religious, or scientific purposes. It's not just a fancy title. It's what allows nonprofits to avoid paying federal income taxes, receive tax-deductible donations, access grant opportunities, and other funding streams. This status is like the gold standard for nonprofits. Without it, many funding doors remain closed. Setting up a 501c3 takes some time and effort, but it's worth it. Here's the process in a nutshell. 1. Define your mission. What's the problem you're solving? Who are you serving? Your mission is the foundation of your nonprofit. 2. Incorporate as a nonprofit. File articles of incorporation with your state. This makes your organization official. 3. Get an EIN, employer identification number. You'll need it for taxes, banking, and other official business. 4. Apply for tax-exempt status. Submit IRS Form 1020 or 1023-EZ. The 1023 form is detailed and better for larger organizations. The EZ form is faster for smaller nonprofits with budgets under $50,000. The cost of filing these forms ranges from $250 to $600. 5. Build a board of directors. Don't take this step lightly. We cannot tell you how important it is to assemble a competent board of directors. A sustainable nonprofit needs a board to provide oversight and guidance. Choose people that are passionate about your mission and bring valuable skills to the table. Basing your nonprofit solely on whether someone is a friend or family member is a recipe for conflict, and many times can end to the detriment of your dream. Once approved, congratulations, you're officially a 501c3. Getting your 501c3 is just the beginning. Here's how to keep it in good standing. File annual reports. Submit IRS Form 990 every year. This shows how you're using funds and keeps your status active. Be transparent. Keep clear records of donations, spending, and program outcomes. Donors and funders love transparency. Stay mission-focused. Funds must go toward your nonprofit's mission, not personal gain or unrelated projects. Failing to follow these rules can put your status at risk. Now, let's discuss the importance of contracts. Contracts are vital for nonprofits to ensure clarity, accountability, and legal protection in all relationships, whether with employees, board members, or external service providers. Here's why contracts matter. Contract 1. Clear expectations. Contracts outline duties, responsibilities, and deliverables for everyone involved. This prevents misunderstandings and keeps everyone on the same page. 2. Legal protection. A contract protects your nonprofit if there are disputes, ensuring that agreements are enforceable. 3. Transparency. Contracts help maintain trust and integrity by showing donors, funders, and stakeholders that your organization is run professionally. 4. When to use contracts. For paid roles, contracts should cover compensation, job duties, and terms of employment. While board members aren't typically paid, you can use a contract or agreement to define their responsibilities, conflict of interest guidelines, and term limits. Always have contracts for services like grant writing, event planning, or partnerships to avoid misunderstandings. Using contracts isn't about creating unnecessary paperwork. It's about protecting the mission and ensuring everyone works together effectively. But what if you are operating your nonprofit and for-profit under the same umbrella? It's common to see a nonprofit and a for-profit working toward the same mission under one umbrella, but there are key things to keep in mind. The nonprofit and for-profit can operate as similar businesses, but must have distinct and separate missions with their own bank accounts, tax filings, and decision-making processes. If both entities share a similar name, for example, Community Builders Nonprofit and Community Builders LLC, it's important to add slight differences to avoid confusion. When the nonprofit hires the for-profit for services, a clear fair market value contract is crucial. This avoids conflicts of interest and ensures the nonprofit's funds are used responsibly. Always document financial transactions between the entities and disclose them in annual reports. This keeps everything above board and avoids scrutiny from the IRS. It is not uncommon for a nonprofit and a for-profit to have mutual benefits. A nonprofit might focus on community programs, while the for-profit handles product sales or services that generate revenue. Together, they strengthen the mission while maintaining compliance. By keeping operations distinct, adding slight naming differences, and maintaining proper contracts, nonprofits and for-profits can work together without crossing legal or ethical boundaries. Operating a nonprofit or for-profit on the same property as your personal residence requires careful planning to protect your personal assets. Here's how to do it. Create legal separation. Ensure the nonprofit or for-profit is a distinct legal entity, such as a 501c3, LLC, or corporation. This separation protects your personal assets in case of legal or financial issues. Establish a lease agreement. Draft a formal lease agreement where the organization rents the business portion of the property from you as the owner. Clearly define the area being leased, for example, a detached garage or basement office, and include rental terms, even if nominal, such as $1 per year for the nonprofit. Maintain clear boundaries. Physically separate the residential and business areas with clear distinctions, such as separate entrances or signage. Ensure local zoning laws permit business or nonprofit operations on the property. Obtain proper insurance. Your personal homeowner's insurance may not cover activities related to a business or nonprofit. Ensure the organization has its own liability insurance to cover its operations. Consult a lawyer to draft lease agreements, liability waivers, and other necessary documents tailored to your specific situation. Consider tax implications. If leasing part of the property, you may be able to deduct associated expenses like maintenance or property taxes for the leased portion. Ensure the organization's use does not overlap with personal residential use, which could complicate tax reporting. Taking these steps protects your residential property while ensuring the nonprofit or for-profit office operates effectively and legally. The 501c3 isn't just a tax designation. It's the foundation of a nonprofit success. By setting up clear bylaws, adopting a strong conflict of interest policy, and handling board-related roles with care, you can create a nonprofit that's ethical, transparent, and effective.
One of the things that I think people really make a big mistake in doing, and that's not setting contracts. I know a lot of people go in business with family members, or even your mom, dad, sisters, brothers, and you always want to keep things on a business level, If you have a personal relationship with them, that's fine, but you always want to keep your business separate. So if that means making sure you have a contract in order so that you can, like I say, so that you can let what each person's responsibility is, that's what needs to be done, because that is the biggest way to cause confusion and chaos when you're doing business with family and friends. Have everything lined up and in order. And even like it said, you might have to hire a lawyer, and you might think, oh, I'm just starting out, I don't have money for a lawyer, I don't have money for this. But those things can really prevent a lot of headache and heartache when it gets on down the line. So be mindful of that.
And the thing about a contract, I would never, if I was going into business and we were going to do contract, that'd be fine with me. The biggest thing is understanding the contract, not signing something that you don't agree that you're going to do, or that you don't have a clear understanding, and to ask questions and get clarification. Crossing T's and dotting I's is part of the contract. There are things, and you don't have to do some big. I mean, you can use layman language that people can understand, and it's good to be able to do that, because who wants to sign a contract that they don't understand? And even your board of directors can sign one that says, these are the things that, the expectations of a board. I've never thought it was a problem to have people in your family on your board when you have a nonprofit, because remember, no one actually owns a nonprofit. The board is the one that provides all the oversight. And so if I started something, I'd want some people that I trust. The problem is when you try to do it all like that and none of them have knowledge of the business they can't bring anything to the table. So it's still you trying to do it all. And I know sometimes we think we can do it all, but as your business grows, you really do need people around you, not just family that supports you, but people also that can help you grow and actually have some concept of what it is that y'all are trying to achieve, and some business savvy to some degree. I do think it's fine to have family, but I don't think that it's wise to have all family, or just because I don't want somebody to take this business from me, because sometimes we self-destruct like that because we don't have the knowledge or the experience as we grow to need other expertise to come to the table. And as we grow, some people can, some people can offer us very vital information. So when you're selecting your board, that's very important. And so you need, it's crucial that you get people around you that understand where you're going. They have some kind of ethical and professional wherewithal uh, to help you get to other levels. Who goes in a business and don't want to get to another level, and want to
Mhm.
be in nonprofits and want to give back to the community? So, you know, I mean, it sounds good, and I'm gonna say it. We got to keep our ego in check so that we can learn.
Mhm.
And be consistent uh, with your documentation. A post-it note is not a receipt. We got to be consistent with how we do our bookkeeping. Get someone that knows about bookkeeping that's going to do it the proper way so that if you have to submit copies of something, you're not scrambling because somebody's taking care of it along the way from the little until you get to the big. You know, they starting out on the right foot.
Exactly. If you've ever had the unfortunate event of filing taxes the day of or the day before, and your receipts are in one place, your check stubs are in another place, and you're having to gather everything, and the headache that is, you do not want to do that with your business. You want to go step by step, keeping things in order. And like I stated before, a lot of times you're starting off, you don't have a lot of money, but try to see if you can find if it's just something that's not your expertise or something you don't want to do, or nobody in your up under your umbrella knows how to do it. Find you a CPA and hire them quarterly to take care of those books for you. You probably can get someone at a reasonable price to do that for you.
And then here's something, sometimes our businesses are so small in the beginning, but there is some software that is like they have Wave, which is
Right.
very similar to QuickBooks, which does not cost anything, and you can scan your receipts in there. I've used it myself, and it will create all kind of reports and balance sheets and expenditure sheets, and it's called Wave, and it's Wave spreadsheets, wave.com. And so that's something that you can do. But now that means that you're going to have to go in and do a little bit of setup. But, it's just, and the thing I like is that they have where you can scan your receipts. And once you scan it, it's in there. And then they automatically will put it in whatever spreadsheets that it's appropriate for. So that's something else. But cannot stress the importance of keeping really good books, having contracts, creating uh, uh, infrastructure, no matter how small, but starting to build an infrastructure from the ground up. And one more thing, we're going to do one more, but one more thing is you definitely don't want to be skimpy about your mission statement, because everything that you do, and when they're talking about accountability and not going away from the mission, they're really looking at your mission statement and what you created for mission statement. And that doesn't matter if you get a small business loan or if you get a grant, it just the same. So we got another really short video about creating bylaws and having a board of directors.
Today, we're diving into understanding bylaws and the role of a conflict of interest policy. These aren't just legal requirements, they're the foundation for building a transparent and effective organization. Let's break it down together. Laws are the rules that govern how an organization operates. They outline everything from how decisions are made to how board members are chosen. Think of them as the rule book for your nonprofit, ensuring everything runs smoothly and legally. Bylaws generally include the following categories. 1. Name and purpose. This includes the official name of your organization and its mission or purpose. 2. Membership, if applicable. Information about who can be a member, membership fees, and the rights of members. 3. Board of directors. This section details the structure, roles, responsibilities, and how directors are elected or removed. 4. Officers specify roles such as president.
Hmm.
conflict of interest policy. This section details the structure, roles, responsibilities, and how directors are elected or removed. 4. Officers specify roles such as president, secretary, and treasurer along with their responsibilities. 5. Meetings covers regular and special meetings, quorum requirements, and voting procedures. 6. Committees describes the types of committees, how they're formed, and their responsibilities. 7. Conflict of interest policy. One critical part of your bylaws. This protects your organization by ensuring that board members or staff can't personally benefit from decisions they make for the nonprofit. For example, if a board member owns a business that wants to contract with the nonprofit, this clause will require them to disclose the relationship and step back from the decision-making process. Transparency here builds trust and integrity. 8 amendments explains the process for changing or updating the bylaws. 9, dissolution clause, outlines how the organization's assets will be handled if the nonprofit is dissolved. Bylaws and a strong conflict of interest policy are key to building a nonprofit that's ethical, transparent, and effective. They're not just rules. They're the foundation for a successful and lasting organization.
Okay. So you're gonna need bylaws, and if you're gonna start a nonprofit, and I would even encourage people to look online because there's lots of samples of all of these. There's even samples of 501c3 applications and what people typically, and see if you can find one that's similar to what you would want to do, or you know somebody and you can lead them in that direction. Also online, on YouTube, we have all of these videos, and you can definitely go back and take it real slow and write down the loans and the grants that you're interested in.
And something else that we've been pushing since the beginning is AI. AI can become your best friend that can help you through the process of whatever you're trying to do, and from whatever position you're starting in, from your 501 to writing the grant itself, your business proposal, whatever help you may need. AI can get you through it.
Yeah. You just have to make sure that, I don't care if it's AI or if it's a person, you need to read whatever is produced for you and make sure that it is articulating what your intent is. No one or nothing can do that for you. It's only in your head what it is that you want to do and in your heart. And so when something is being submitted in your name, you want to make sure that it is conveying your message. But if you're not a writer, that's a good way to be able to just say what you want to do and then have it put in language that that you would feel comfortable submitting to someone. So I think that this grant, I think grants and loans is very important. We have a lot of very creative people in our community, and we're gonna keep doing it, until for as long as the foreseeable future. And because it's very important, and it's a way to give back to the community and to shed some light on a very important topic.
Right. Most definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that's all we have for is loans and grants and things like that. You got some news stuff you want to share, Annie? Venezuela. I mean, not Venezuela, Salvador.
Yeah, Salvador. The only information I have on that, of course, he is still in El Salvador. They had a press conference last week, did an interview with the wife on, I believe it was last Friday. And one of the things that arose during the press conference was, well, her interview was that they're saying that he was an ex-gang member and how he was feared. And the question came up asking the wife, did she file a protective order on him back in 2021, 2020 or 2021. She never answered the question, but I think they were trying to go down the line of saying, well, maybe he is a danger, maybe he is a threat if they try to pull him back in. But um, other than the president, other people in the House and Congress are really going to bat to try to get him back here. Like I say, as of today, he is still over there, but they're still trying to get him back into the United States. So we'll just try to keep that posted and see what happens.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's really good. And I have some Elon Musk news. Apparently he was on a temporary contract to work for the White House, and that's why we haven't heard from him. The I don't believe this for a moment. I'm sorry. But the 30 days, his contract is up, and so he is backed away from
Oh,
a lot of
really?
his Doge responsibilities, supposedly.
Hmm.
But I didn't. They say it was he was on a temporary. It was only a temporary thing. I don't know. He got a lot of backlash, so you know. And
Hmm.
I don't know if he back out of the spotlight doesn't mean that he wouldn't be in the background. You know.
Right. Right.
And
Hmm.
so that was some news we could use is that we may not be hearing as much from him moving forward because his contract is up.
Hmm.
His temporary contract is up. So that was one thing. And then the other thing, and I guess this is we'll end it a little early tonight. The other thing is just want to remind everybody about Wednesday, uh, and we'll be on the fourth part of Fire Unfinished, which is going really well, and we're getting a lot of support for that, and so that's another thing. So I just don't want anybody to forget about it. The books are on. You can purchase them on Amazon.com, and I also will be having a book signing pretty soon here. So, Robin, do you want to take your minute now, and we can let people go a couple of minutes early?
Sure, sure. I just wanted to say someone told me today I was talking about something. They said, don't find the problem before the problem arises. With that being said, applying for an SBA loan or a grant, it may seem overwhelming. It may seem like you're going to get discouraged at the beginning, but if you're like me, you're visual. Write down the requirements and the due dates of everything when you're looking at a grant, write it down, check it off when you go through it. Take your time, read it once, read it twice, read it as many times as you need to get through it. We have faith in you that you can do it. You deserve it. So don't give up on whatever your dream or your goal is. And good luck.
Just want to remind everyone that we are a resource. And although we don't have all the answers, I don't, if you write us to our email at hiddenvoicesnomore at gmail.com or come on here and give a comment and you need help in just pointing in some directions, if we can, we will. We really believe in the ingenuity and the creativity of our community and just want to be able to see us start on the right foot. And it's enough struggles just trying to have a business. So if we can do as many things right or standard, like and so that people will take it seriously, that loans and funding sources and shareholders and stakeholders, which are just people in the community, sponsors, people take it take us seriously, then that's really good. But let me tell you this, we have to do the homework. Sometimes you just got to sit down and do the boring stuff or get someone that doesn't mind sitting down but you have good communication with and Remember, contracts is not the enemy. Actually, they can be your friend. It can make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable. And don't forget Wednesday, Fire Unfinished. We thank you for coming tonight, and we're gonna put out a few clips about these loans and grants. But go on YouTube. You can get the whole thing, and you can watch the parts you want to watch. Share them with people. Please share them. If you know someone is trying to own a business and they start talking about, oh, they got to write a grant, or oh, they need to become a nonprofit, I think the language is pretty easy, for all of us to understand. And so send them to the website. Say, go look at that. And the title is Dare to Dream, and tell them to go look at it. Look at the different videos. We thank you so much, and we hope that you have a very nice and safe weekend. Robin, I'm saying bye. Bye.
Bye. Good night. Y'all have a good evening.
Oh, you're right. You better ride.